Let's talk.
Shows no mercy. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Konbanwa, hajimemashite, watashi wa Janyoto desu. Oh, wait, it's in Tokyo. My bad.
Check, check.
Check, check.
Have a seat. Big show. My name is Mike Balsam. I'm a host on Coach Go, now known as Your TV here in Niagara Falls. We've got the 7-time heavyweight world champion, 11-time tag team champion with us right here. Big show.
I don't guess that was very kayfabe on that vape, was it? I guess everybody saw that. All right. Vaping stunts your growth, by the way.
We're going to take some questions from the audience, but I have a couple before we get started. I'm reading some of your bio, Big Show, and the first thing that floored me was that this whole wrestling thing got started when you appeared on Danny Partridge's radio show. Is that true?
Well, it wasn't Danny Partridge. It was, okay, let's back this up a little bit. I was living in Wichita, Kansas at the time. I was working for a karaoke company called Jesco Karaoke out of Chicago. I'd moved back to Chicago with the owner, answering phones by the day, running karaoke shows at night. And we did a gig on Danny Bonaducci's morning radio drive where we had people come in and sing karaoke on the morning show, which is kind of like American Idol. Some people were really good and some people were god-awful. So it was a great little time. And I was trying to, at that point in my life, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. I did have somebody was trying to schedule me a tryout for the Chicago Bears. Luckily, that never came through. And Danny had a charity basketball game against Hulk Hogan and Mr. T and Jimmy Hart. And he said, I used to play basketball for Wichita State. So he says, hey, man, I'll bring you in as a ringer. And I'm like, okay. Because I had looked into, I was always a fan. I grew up in the South. So I was a fan of Georgia Championship Wrestling, Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, Ronnie Garvin, Tommy Wildfire Rich. Those, Bob and Brad Armstrong, Bullet Bob Armstrong still is one of my favorites, and Arn Anderson are two of my favorites of all time. So I looked at wrestling as it might be fun, I don't know if I'd be good at it, but I might be one of those guys that could get beat up. So little did I know, Hulk saw me. I was this 22-year-old 7-foot kid with long hair that looked like a young Andre, and Hulk said, you got a big dollar sign on your forehead, brother. I said, well, please show it to me because I is broke. And the rest is history. My first match, I wrestled Hulk Hogan for the world title at Halloween Havoc and walked out with it in October 1995.
And you mentioned Andre the Giant. You were billed originally as the Giant.
Well, I was billed originally as Andre's son, and that was a choice that Hogan and Eric Bischoff made at the time. Even Kevin Sullivan was funny. Kevin Sullivan was the booker at the time, and Kevin didn't really want me to start out with that moniker. Hogan was looking for an opponent, obviously, back then in WCW. He was having to build and create his own opponents. And for me, it gave me a little bit of instant validity. Like, everybody loved Andre. Andre was one of a kind, did so much for our business, so much for the fans. So there's a part of us that never want to let someone like that go. You want that legacy or that tradition to carry on. So for me, it was a little bit uncomfortable because I felt like I was, even though it was pro wrestling, I still felt like I was lying to people. Because I still have people this day that come up and say, oh my God, I was such a huge fan of your dad's. I'm like, my dad was a mechanic. You like to watch him work?
But he fixed a really good car.
I mean, he was amazing at a tune-up, but I mean, he had a wooden stick and we put it on the motor and listened to it like a weirdo and I would get embarrassed. But for the time of the business, the business was really getting hot then and we were doing angles and, the Monday Night Wars started and anything and anything was good to put on TV, but it gave me validity and gave me a good start. So did it pigeonhole me a little bit in my career for the way everyone wanted me to work? Yeah, because I was a tremendous athlete back then that, lack of a better term, I had to dumb down my work. I could do nip-ups, I could do backflips, I could do moonsaults, I could do drop kicks off the top, and everybody that I worked with didn't want that because they had the last giant they worked with was Andre. And Andre set that precedence of being a giant. So the wrestling guys backstage weren't ready for my big dumb ass to go out there and act like a lucha libre. Where our business has evolved now, where athleticism is encouraged, athleticism is promoted, and I see a guy like Braun Strowman that I'm so proud of him, and I'm so proud to have helped with him and helped bring him along and chewed his ass out and made him who he is. He is that next generation giant, big man, athleticism, power, strength. So I'm very, very thankful. Are you guys leaving? What? I'm not spitting on the kids, am I? You know, sometimes I get emotional and chewing gum and accidents happen, but like, oh, he's spitting on the babies. Let's move. Let's move.
You bring up a good point about, you know, if I think about you being mentored originally by Hulk Hogan, and then you now in the stage in your career where you're able to mentor some young wrestlers coming up as well.
I had a lot of mentors. You understand, when I started this business, I was the youngest guy by 12, 13 years. The two youngest guys in this business were myself and Alex Wright, you know, when I started. And everybody was 12. So I was like everybody's little kid, dumbass brother running around. I was the one, you know, I had Arn looking out for me and Flair. Well, Flair mostly got me drunk and got me in trouble. So it's, I don't know how much looking out there was.
No surprise there.
Yeah, you know. I started out, oh yeah, I'll go, sure, Rick, I'll go out with you afterwards at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm naked on stage, hammered. Like, how did that happen? So thank God there weren't any cell phones back then. But, you know, I had a lot of great mentors. Arn Anderson, Terry Taylor, you know, Hulkster, Randy. Later in my career, I got a lot of great advice, you know, especially when I got to WWE, was Taker, Stone Cold, and Arn Anderson. And Fit Finley. Fit Finley has been a really great blessing behind the scenes. He's probably one of the most creative, knowledgeable guys we have backstage is Fit Finley. He's an amazing treasure to our company, him and Arn both.
You've worked with a lot of different partners as a tag team.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one?
Jericho. I love tagging with Jericho, and I love tagging with Kane. Kane and I, just because we were just two big grumps. You know, it was Big Grump and Big Grouch, and that was us. But Jericho, because at the point I started tagging with Jericho, I'd already been very successful, had a lot of success in my career. But tagging with Jericho, I actually learned a lot from Chris. And we learned a lot from each other about psychology and big man, little man psychology. And the whole time that we did Jericho, I never covered one single opponent in all the matches that we won. I always knocked him out, and Chris always got the cover. So he kept his heat status, even though we were a popular tag team because we were Jericho. But just little things on psychology, and Chris and I worked great together. Our promos, our dramatic breakup was hysterical, where I gave him the ticket. And sometimes you just got to let it go, man. You just got to let it go. You know, I mean, I had so much fun working with Jericho. So, yeah.
You worked closely with Vince McMahon. Your role was as his enforcer for a while as well.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Vinnie Mac. I got trained by Vince early in my career. Because, you know, a lot of times as talent now, we go do media days and radio and TV and whatnot, and we have, you know, office handlers or people there to say, hey, we need to talk about SummerSlam, and we need to talk about this, and we need to talk about that. I went on a lot of my first media tours with Vince himself. And so I got to a lot of the master tutelage on dealing with situations and stuff and how to make the most of things and make the most out of interviews from him. And that's a very valuable entity to learn from. I know it's a long story. It'll be all right. But, you know, when you work with somebody that's done everything that Vince has and you get a chance to learn sort of at his shoes, it's a great experience that I've tried to pass down to the younger kids about building their brand, about handling themselves. You know, without you all, we are nothing. I have a hard time with guys in our business that don't sign autographs, heels or baby faces. Like, without you all, we don't. Without you guys, I'd be qualified to work at Jiffy Lube changing oil. I mean, you guys gave me a beautiful life, and I got to see the world. And so if a fan wants an autograph, the least thing I can do is sign it and say thank you. And there's another reason, too. It takes more time to tell someone to go away than to take 10 seconds and smile and take a picture, sign an autograph, and spread some love. You know, there's enough negativity, and I'm not trying to preach, but any chance we can spread a little love and a little thank you, and if, you know, taking a picture with a big smelly giant makes your day, then, well, it's my pleasure to help you out.
Before wrestling, what was it like being a 7-foot-tall giant?
That's a great question, actually. Thank you. You know, it's funny because people have said to me, "Oh, you don't act like a big star," and yada yada yada. That's because my hair fell out. When my hair was long, I was arrogant. But you know, God went, "Damn, no hair." Oh, I'm humble. No, I was 6'2" at 12, 7 foot as a senior in high school, 6'9" at 15. So I've always had people coming up to me, and when I was very young, I didn't know how to handle it. When you're going through puberty at 10, you know, like you're 6'2", the first girl you ever kiss at a roller skating rink, you get tackled and arrested because they think you're 18 and you're 12. So you become angry about being different. And it wasn't till I started getting into sports and realized that I had an ability through athletics and I had a gift, basketball, football, baseball, that I had a gift that others didn't have, that I was able to take being unique and being different and turn that into more positive. So I learned at an early age to handle being different. And that's the same thing when you're famous. When you're famous, yes, you're a human being. Yes, you have feelings, you have joy, you cry, you're sad, but you're considered different because the rest of the world looks at you differently. Whether they hold you in a higher regard, whether they love you as your character on a soap opera or a movie, they hold you differently. And it's up to you as that entity to just be nice. I mean, you know, there are days that I am grouchy, I don't leave the house. You know, my wife will look at me in the morning and she goes, "Oh, you're staying in today." Yes. So, you know, okay. I mean, you know, I'm a human being, I have those days, but I think that's one of the things I want our guys, the younger generation, to do, especially now with social media and all the assets that they have to build their brands, is build your brand the old school way too. Shake people's hands, meet people, ask how their day is. They care enough about you to support you through watching your programming, to support you by wearing your merchandise, and take the time to support them, to let them know that they matter. And I think a lot of them get it now, you know. I mean, there were a few guys I have jumped their shit for not giving somebody's autograph for being mean. You know, "No, I'm a bad guy." You can be an unemployed bad guy. How would you like that? I mean, are you a real bad guy in real life? I mean, you know, really? Are you? Or are you playing a character? You're playing a character, then be nice. You know, it's not that hard. If I'm nice and I stick out, you sure as hell aren't as over as I am, so there's no reason for you not to be nice. And that isn't a way of me talking to someone else younger trying to help them. But there's a reason for it, you know, you need to be thankful.
You know, up here in Canada, we used to...
Canada! Oh, I married a girl from Canada. Damn it, you Canadians.
Where is she from? Because I heard a rumor she's from...
Mississauga.
Mississauga.
Mississauga, yeah. Sure is, yeah, awesome. 18 years, great.
Way to go.
Yeah, May 24, eh? Yeah.
Do you know...
I got Boxing Day, yeah.
I'm going to call you the friendly giant, and where I was going with that is up here in Canada, we used to have a children's show starring someone called the Friendly Giant, because what I'm getting out of you through a couple of the answers to these questions is how, even though you are a big guy as the big show, you really focus on being that nice guy.
No, I'm a jackass. No, I just like people. I mean, I'm an ambassador with Special Olympics. I like kids, I like people. Here's the thing with me. If you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. I promise you, though, people that are rude, I can check their shit so quick, it'll snap your neck. You know, "Hey, come here, give me an autograph. Hey, F you, I pay taxes. What do you want?" You know, so, but it's all in how we treat each other, you know, and I think with everything that's going on, the more you look around and again, this is not me grandstanding, I don't control anything outside in the world. I control the 3 feet area around me. So my way of being nice and giving back is that I always try to take this 3 feet of space and be nice and be joyful as much as I can, you know? And sometimes that's not good enough for other people, and they've got their own things to deal with, and I don't judge them, you know? But if you come up and talk to me, odds are you're cool, I'm gonna be pretty cool too, you know? Unless it's like in a bathroom or somewhere awkward, then I really don't wanna have a chat, because first of all, guys, you're not supposed to talk in the bathroom, you know? So, and I don't know if it's a new thing where it's okay, but from my days, you don't talk in the bathroom.
No.
You grunt and nod. You know, it's very manly, grunt and nod. No, "Hey, how's it going?" No, don't talk, don't talk, don't talk. Don't make eye contact, just straight ahead.
I'm going to turn to the audience if we have some questions. I'll take you right here. Yeah?
It's not a wrestling question, but I watched you in Vendetta with Dean Cain, which I love, by the way.
I love
Dean's
it.
here today. I just
Yeah,
said
I know.
hello to
We
him in the
had a
hallway.
big bromance earlier, yeah.
So how is your experience working on the movie and with working with Dean?
Well, first of all, the movie's directed by the Soska twins, which they're known normally for their horror films. The Soska twins are a unique entity if you've ever met them, because they're two people with one brain. They're twins, but it's ridiculous. Like, they literally task on a set, they split in half. They don't argue. They just literally, they're one brain that splits in half and handles different projects. It's unreal to see how competent those two are working. And they were so nice to work with. Dean Cain was absolutely amazing to work with. He was he's had so much experience in TV and film, and he's got that good veteran on-set leadership. He was friendly to everyone, showed up on time, had a smile, had a positive attitude, and worked his ass off. And when you're working on any project, that's all you can ask for in a coworker, somebody with the same dedication that you have. And he was a lot of fun to work with. And there was some great Canadian talent that we worked with up there in Vancouver as well. You know, the whole stunt team with Kamani and Jason Day and Dan Risotto, that whole group, a lot of those guys worked on Deadpool, did a lot of the fight choreographing on Deadpool and stunts for Deadpool. So we had a really great group to work with. Vendetta was a lot of fun. It really was. Like, I would love to say I'd be able to do Vendetta 2, but the good guy killed me, so there's no Vendetta 2.
Gentleman right here.
Yes, sir.
What was it like doing Psych and doing Super Ninja?
Well, Super Ninjas was a lot of fun because that was Nickelodeon. The kids were great to work with, and they had so much energy. Psych was fun because I'm friends with James Roday, and he wrote that episode and directed it. And my character was a special forces soldier that had pulled back from society and living on nature kind of a thing. So as I'm telling my story in the first take, and I'm working with, you know, Timothy O'Munson and, you know, all the guys from Psych, you know. So I'm doing my little monologue, and James comes up to me and goes, "Hey, that was amazing. I love what you did, but it's a 43-minute show. Can you hurry up?" I went, "Oh, okay, speed it up a little bit." He goes, "Yeah, you big jackass, speed it up." So that's Roday. I had a lot of fun working with him, and those guys had such a great synergy going on that show, and it was so much fun to work on.
I'm going to take this young guy here wearing the beads and the tie-dye shirt.
Wow, you got picked out because of a tie-dye shirt. Smart man. Yes. My favorite opponent over the years, it staggers in different categories. I've had a lot of fun working Undertaker when I was younger because I really had to push myself to do well because he was a mentor. And when he said I did a good job, it meant a lot to me personally because I did, because he never fooled around when it came to business. He was very direct. And when I did well and he gave me a stamp of approval, it meant a lot personally. Some straight up battles. I had battles with Brock Lesnar even before he went to UFC that were amazing. You know, I fought Brock every night for 2 years and took an F5 every night, sometimes twice. No wonder I had a bad hip. The superplex, yes, or my comeback's dying, German, like, well, slow down. You know, I'd say over the years though, I had a lot of fun with John Cena. I know you guys saw me work him a lot, but John Cena was just the staple of easiness and professionalism and giving that I've worked with. John Cena would come in, punch me 3 times, hit the rope, get splattered, and sell the whole match. End of the match, AA, 5-knuckle shuffle or whatever, crowd goes crazy. John always made me bigger than I was. He made me a giant working with me. He understood the fact that the bigger he made me at the end, when he finally hit the AA, the happier you all would be. And I made a ton of money working with John Cena. Like, I'm sorry, the guy put butts in seats and sold a lot of tickets. So I loved working with John. And here recently, I had a lot of fun working with Braun. Braun's a little physical. I had but nowhere near as physical as Sheamus. Sheamus was like wrestling a bag of hammers every night. Every night. I would be on my bus and I'd have bruises in my ribs and my forearms, and I looked like I got mugged, you know? And I would come in the next day and I'd see Sheamus and he'd have bruises and like, you know, big chest split open, and I'm like, do we hate each other? He goes, no, man, it's freaking great, man. It's good fight, freaking great, good fight. And he'd walk off, and I'm like, oh, well, that's the problem right there, because he's turning it up, and I do, and I'm too old for this. No, but Sheamus was great. Awesome.
Now, you said you had 2 questions. What was
the
your
other
second one?
Well, don't put me on the spot, man. I'm sure we'll work something out. Just be cool. Well, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Bullet Club back there.
Bullet Club. Great shirt, by the way.
Speaking of Braun, I thought it was pretty neat that was your final match that ended kind of bookended your WWE career, because you debuted in a steel cage match throwing Stone Cold through, and then if that...
Purely coincidence. Purely coincidence. They wanted a third match with Braun Strowman and I was going in for hip surgery, and I told Vince that we needed to do something off the charts and make it different, because the 2 matches that we've had were pay-per-view quality matches that you guys got for free on Raw. So I voted for a cage and voted for him to chunk me through it with an overhead press. So he did it with a shoulder toss because he's not strong. He's only pretend strong. Back in my day, I could do it with an overhead press, but I'm just saying I'm a giant. He's not.
The lady in the back, right there.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was awesome. I love that. I love him to death. He's my brother from another mother. I have laughed, and I have cried, and I have overeaten, and I have sweated so much with that man, just doing so much. Y'all don't understand how much I love Mark Henry. And it's funny, you notice Mark Henry looked really good that night in Hall of Fame. He had that nice black shirt. Yeah, well, the reason he had a nice black shirt is, and the reason I was wearing an ugly white tuck shirt is because he forgot his tuck shirt. So I gave him my nice custom black shirt that would have looked great. I'd have been all in black, but it wasn't about me. It was about my friend's night. So I gave him the good shirt, and I wore my old shirt that didn't fit at all. Bow tie looked like it, you know, belonged to a kid in kindergarten. So I said, hey, man, I want my shirt back. Oh, yeah, I got you, man. Thanks for taking care of me, blah, blah, blah. So I call him 2 days later. I say, hey, man, where's my shirt? He goes, what shirt? I went, I love you, too. What's up?
Gentleman with the glasses right at the back.
From NXT? None of them. Here's the thing. I appreciate NXT, and it's a movement going forward, but they got a long ways to go to make it to the top of our level. I mean, when they get there, they pay some dues, put some miles in, don't have food catered to them, you know, put some miles down the road, real miles, not 50 miles to Tampa or maybe 100 miles to Jacksonville or wherever they're going. You put in a few thousand miles, blood, sweat, and bleed for this business. It's easy to say you love this business when you first start and everything's brand new and you're getting wins. You put in some time, put some other people over, and sacrifice a little bit, then tell me how much you love it. Till then, you're just a mark that got a contract.
Can I ask you a related question about that? Because we have a local kid here, Ty Dillinger, the Perfect 10 from St. Catharines.
Ty Dillinger.
So that's okay. There we go. Tell me about him.
Ty's a good dude. I mean, here's the thing. When they're in NXT, they're in a safe, controlled environment. WWE, they have to relearn once they get up there. And it's not a safe and controlled environment. It's a workhorse work tank. And I don't want to hear about how good you think you are or how good everybody tells you are. Go out and show me. And anybody that I step in the ring with, I step in the ring with an open mind and open attitude to work and get them over, get the match over, and then I'll get myself over. That's always been my attitude. I get the match over, I get my opponent over, then I get myself over. So as far as working with those NXT kids, I have no problems working with any of them, you know, any of them. But at the same time, I want to see a little bit more out of them other than going to a brand new, beautiful facility, having a weight training and weight training coaches and locker rooms with nice microwaves and prep food and sleep in the same bed every night and they all come in. That's all great. I'm proud of that. But I want to see you do like our guys just did, a tour after WrestleMania. They're home for a few days. What did they do? They did South Africa, home back to Canada. Then they went from South Africa to like Saudi Arabia, then home to TV, and then they went to Europe and did TVs in Europe. So that whole month, I think they were home 3 days out of the month and traveling internationally every day and wrestling every night and putting it on the line. You show me that. You get in the trenches, you bleed and sweat a little bit. That goes a lot ways to my respect, but I'm old school.
That's paying some dues. This gentleman with the cap on, the dark cap, I think you've had your hand up for a while.
I seen your reaction at the Eddie Guerrero when he passed away. I was going to ask
Come on, man.
what your favorite memory with Eddie was.
Fighting Eddie. Yeah, Eddie and I got in a fight one night.
A real fight.
No, not really. He was mad, and I wouldn't hit him back. But Eddie used to get mad about stuff and lose his temper. And I loved working with Eddie. He was so amazing, could do anything. I could shoot Eddie into the ropes, catch him with one hand, and in one hand press him, and it was all Eddie. And that I was strong, not like Braun, but I was really strong. I'm kidding. But Eddie was that talented. But one night, Eddie and I were tagging together, and I was supposed to come in later in the match, beat up our opponents, choke slam them, and then drag Eddie on top of him for the win. And this is what Eddie told me to do. So when the spot came, I ran down, beat the guys up, boom, double choke slam him, dragged Eddie on top. You know, 1, 2, 3, get to the back. Eddie's furious. He's like, what was that, S.A.? What you doing, S.A.? And I'm like, what? What'd I do? You just gonna come down and choke slam everybody like it's all about you? And I'm like, you told me. Why would I tell you to do that, man? Huh? Why would I tell you to? And then you drag me like I'm a sock. I'm like, yeah, Eddie, you told me to do all of that. Like, I don't care how big you are, man. I'll fight you. And I'm like, okay, but you told me to do all this. You know, and then 15 minutes later he goes, it's okay, man. I didn't like, forget what I said. It's okay. But Eddie was hot-headed like that, I mean, I said good morning to him one time on a plane. I was sitting up front in first class, and Eddie walked on a plane. I said, good morning, Eddie. He drops his bag and goes, what is that supposed to mean, S.A.? And I'm sitting here like this. I'm like, good morning. But that was, Eddie was always competitive and challenging. You should have seen, just some of the matches he'd have. He was so competitive. Yes, blue shirt.
So you mentioned that you work with Vince a lot and you kind of do him on a personal level.
Right.
Sort of a two-part question. One, how is the character Vince different from the real life Vince?
Oh, completely
And
different.
Two, does he really hate sneezing?
Vince, good point. I've gone on a lot of overseas trips with Vince to Iraq, Afghanistan for USO for the troops and Armed Forces Entertainment, and I've spent a lot of time with Vince. Vince is nothing like his character on TV. His character on TV is an exaggeration of what you all would think a boss like that would be. Vince is very caring, but Vince is very business, and I think that's a lot of things that people don't understand. They look at that in a cold way. WWE is a great place to work if you show up on time, do your job, don't cause problems, make a whole crap load of money, save your money, you'll have a great career, and they'll always find a place for you. But you're not going to go to WWE and be a guy that tries to shortcut, shoot angles, take advantage, because Vince has seen it all. He really has seen it all. So if you're going to BS him, well, he's going to BS you back, and you're going to lose. I always find with him straight up is awesome. I mean, he's a guy that short-sheeted my bed in Afghanistan. He turned the heater on in my room. He stole my towels one time when I was in the shower. So I know him more as the Vince McMahon from Camp WWE. To me, is more like the real Vince. Who is a guy that's responsible to make sure that you all have a product that stays in business, that's global, that keeps you all entertained, but also keeps employees around the world, not just wrestling talent, but behind the scenes people. Make sure all of them have a job and continue to grow. So that responsibility on his head is pretty huge. I never lose sight of it. My last name's not McMahon. I know that I could lose my job in 5 minutes. So I always treat Vince with respect and never forget the fact that he's the boss, and I don't lose sight of that, and I don't have a problem. I think some people make that mistake, and with somebody that has as much responsibility as Vince does, you can't confuse that chain of command, you know?
Can we take this young dude here who's had his hand up
What's
almost
up, man?
the entire time?
I thought you had to go to the bathroom, my bad.
I'm the champ along these parts. I picked Diamond Dallas Page.
I'm sorry, did you say something? You pinned who?
Do you want to watch some?
Who? What? Huh? I'm not putting you over. No. You know, no, it's cute. You got the cute little boots and the shirt. No, I pinned DDP. Well, that's DDP's fault for putting you over. Diamond Dallas Page is DDP. Do your homework.
Can we go with the guy in the red cap there?
Yeah, man. Oh, God, I don't remember what I did 3 weeks ago. WrestleMania 24 was who? Oh, 24 was Mayweather. That was a lot of fun. Mayweather was great. I mean, you know, he was very professional, hit all the spots he's supposed to hit. The only part that was bad about WrestleMania 24 was his grandma in the back tried to beat the crap out of me for... Because Mayweather kept wanting me to chop him. You know, I'm like, dude, you're a little light. He goes, no, it's great, it's great. When I chopped him in the ring, it sucked the air out of him. Like he would, oh, you know. I was like, I told you, hey, you know, but when I got to the back, because I'd stood on him at one point in the match, and I guess that made his grandma mad, because she pulled me to the corner and gave me the what for. Like Floyd had to come over and save me, because I think she was about to whip my tail for real. Scissors. Briefcase scissors.
Scissors, and then we'll take this guy here with
What's up?
the white hat.
I just had two questions. One, is there someone who you've always wanted to wrestle that you never got a chance to wrestle, dead or alive?
Yeah, I've always wanted to wrestle Jessica Alba. Anyway, go ahead. Get a high five? Yeah, if you leave your sharp implement there. Thank you. It's like TSA.
Ask your question.
What's up, man?
How does it feel?
You bet.
How does it feel being I'm like a spokesperson for disability athletes around the world?
It's amazing. And
I asked one of the staff about giving me one of my business cards, which you probably got.
I haven't looked at it yet, but if you gave it to the staff, they will give it to me.
You and I are very similar. We both love to and respect, and we're both role models for people with disabilities.
Right.
And I respect you so much for that.
I appreciate your power, brother. You know there's a new term for people with special needs now. They fought long and hard, because when you say disability or you say challenged or needs, it's not a positive term. The term that they're coming up with now and trying to push forward, and I'm still trying to learn to use it in a sentence, and it's not easy, but they're called people of determination now, which is a really positive kind of thing. So that's one thing moving forward with Special Olympics. It's cool. I'm just not smart enough to put it in a sentence yet. Like, this is a person of determination who's holding the microphone. Yeah, that works. I did it. All right. Okay.
That works.
But just, you know what? Hey, this is Mike or Joe or whatever, you know.
Can we go with the young lad here in the front?
What was it like fighting The Undertaker?
Stressful. Mark has always been a dear, dear friend of mine who has chewed me out almost as many times as I've chewed Braun out when he comes through the curtain. Undertaker was very influential in my career when I first got to WWE. If you notice, I tag teamed with him for a while. That was just basically so he could yell at me in the ring and didn't have to wait till we got to the back. But Taker molded me into the giant and the leader that I ended up becoming, because I find a lot of the same speeches I give some of the other younger guys and bigger guys are some of the same things that Undertaker told me. I do remember when I was 500 pounds and chain smoking, when I saw my name next to Taker, I got nervous because like, oh, he's going to blow me up. But once I got in shape, I learned to have fun with Undertaker, and we'd rock and roll and run. My favorite match, we We had a match in France in the Colosseum that was built in 300 AD by the Romans. They had real gladiator games there. A lot of history there. So Taker and I were the main event. Mike Chioda was a referee, and it was a non-televised event. It was in France, and Chioda kept asking Taker and I what the finish was. And I looked at Mark and I said, I don't know. What do you want to do? He goes, I don't know. We'll see what happens. And Taker and I worked for about 45 minutes, from me power bombing him out of go-go platas, him kicking out of choke slams, me kicking out of choke slams, me taking a power bomb out of the top turnbuckle. It was a live event show. It was probably the single greatest match I've ever had, and I had it with Taker. And finally, at the end, I ended up tapping out on a go-go plata, and what does he call it, Hell's Gate now? Is that what it's called? And Mike Chioda had a nervous breakdown because he had to count 3 every time, and he couldn't. It was up to us to kick out. And Mike Chioda in the back says, that was the most nerve-wracking match I've ever refereed in my life. You know, I said, yeah, but it was great because it was real. And I remember that crowd, the way the crowd was set up. They would go, Undertaker. And it was like being in the ocean because you could feel the waves of the people chanting it. And that started on his ring entrance. And I got goosebumps now. I knew that night was going to be one hell of a match. I wish we had it on film. I mean, you know. But it was literally, that's my greatest match I've ever had, ever.
This gentleman here?
Hi.
First, congrats on getting shredded for the Shaq match. Sorry we didn't get to see it.
Yeah, well, that was his fault, not mine.
My question is, in any way, do you think kayfabe still exists?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff I know that you guys never will. Kayfabe's alive. No, but I mean, the business had to evolve. I mean, you know, let's face it, you know, with the invention of the internet, thanks to Al Gore, because he invented the internet, no, the business had to change, it had to adapt. I mean, now we have so much more access, so much more information. Even like me, when I started trying to get trained, was almost impossible. You know, now there's NXT, there's schools, you can Google online. If I want to train to be a pro wrestler, you Google it and you got, you know, 100 different things pop up. So that access is available there to you now. So I think as the product progresses, the audience is smarter, so the product has to be smarter, and to try to BS the fans too much. Do we want to suspend your belief? Do we want to take you out of your everyday and take you on an emotional journey? We want to make you laugh. We want to make you mad. We want to make you happy. We want to make you cry. We want to show you great athleticism, get you involved in the competition. Yes. Do we need to let you in a little bit more and let you understand that we are more than the characters we portray on TV? Sure. It should be available to you, and I think you guys deserve it. You know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you don't evolve, you don't change, you die. And I think our business is evolving and changing the way you, the audience, wants. So,
I'm not sure how much time we have left. I don't know if anyone can.
I'm not in a hurry.
So I know we have another session
All
in
right,
this
man,
room
what's
at
up?
2:30.
It's kind of a play on what you were talking about, the PG era.
PG era is exactly what we needed, because we just lost Rock. We just lost Stone Cold. We had nobody to lead us other than the guy that can carry the PG era, and that was John Cena. John Cena was the guy. Sure, he's not going to be your demographic from your 18 to 35-year-old male, but he's going to be your demographic if you're a 25-year-old guy that's got kids and your kids love him. So you bring your kids to your show and your kids get a good experience and your family gets a good experience. And that's what John Cena stepped in. Do we lose a lot of our audience that was the guys that instead of paying rent, they'd buy wrestling tickets? Well, instead of paying rent and buying wrestling tickets, they wouldn't pay rent, they'd go buy UFC tickets or they buy UFC pay-per-view. So that audience moved on. But we filled the gap with another audience because of John's talent, where we got families in, where family could come in and say, hey, for X amount of dollars, I can have a memorable night with my kids, my wife and my kids, and bring them to a show where there isn't going to be nudity, there isn't going to be bad language, there isn't going to be blood, the violence isn't going to be too extreme. This is going to be a good, fun show and family experience for me. That's what and our product needed to mature as a responsible product for the audience and also for the talent working too, because hey, we all love barbed wire and table matches. Woohoo, light them on fire. Mick Foley's missing an ear, can hardly walk. through cage matches. I mean, guys are torn up, and guys will do that because we love you all, but it's not responsible to the talent or your use of talent. When you're like the one thing that WWE is doing now with NXT, which is amazing, is they're investing in the younger talent. They're investing in their training. They're giving them financial advice so they don't end up a retired wrestler that's broke, you know what I mean, that can't sustain themselves or create opportunities for themselves. So now they're investing in the talent. So our normal career used to be 6, 7 years if you were lucky. You would have a WWE run for 6 or 7 years. You know, guys like me and Taker and John Cena and Kane that have had 20-plus year runs, we're freaks. But pretty soon, a 20-year run should be the normal. You should be able to see a guy like Elias have a 15, 20-year career because they invested in him, because he's a reliable talent. He stays healthy. He stays drug-free. He stays trouble-free. His brand builds. He grows. And then you get to enjoy that talent much longer. It's not the old, ride them hard, burn them out. It's not that way anymore. Now it's building a product that lasts for years. And part of building that product is being responsible to your audience. Because we always say, hey, don't try this at home. Because when all that hardcore stuff was at, how many people were at home, you know, doing dumb stuff, jumping off roofs through tables, you know, lighting their sister on fire in the trash can, you know what I mean? Like,
Some of us in here, right?
yeah, but I mean, you know, think about it. You have a responsibility to put a quality product out there and sponsorships. I mean, you know how tough it is being the bastard stepchild in pro wrestling when it comes to like endorsements from big companies. I mean, I have a higher Q rating than most NASCAR drivers, than most movie stars, and most TV stars. But I still have that taint of being a pro wrestler. So you have to make your product mature so that in the future, your business can grow by bringing in more companies that can experience our product. You bring in Gillette, you bring in Dodge, you bring in Snickers, you bring in KFC. All these companies now can say, hey, you have a responsible product that's responsible to the community and responsible to the root. It's okay for us to help build your brand bigger and build our brand because your fan base is loyal. So as far as the Attitude Era goes, it was awesome. It was fun while it was lasted, but it was a burnout. And now you got to build for the future and build a smarter, better product.
Big Show, I think we have time for one more question. I'm going to let you choose who it's going to be.
You be the bad guy.
Oh, man, I got to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see.
You haven't picked anybody over there? Do the kid. He's jumping
The kid?
up now.
The kid that's jumping?
What up, man? My hardest match so far? God, that's a good question, kid. I've had about 5,000 matches. Probably my most difficult fight was some of the matches I had with Sheamus. Some of the pay-per-view matches I had with Sheamus, because we really did not pull anything other than making sure we didn't punch anybody in the teeth or the nose. And no eye gouging. That was a borderline for Sheamus and I. No teeth, no nose, no eye gouging. Everything else, have at it. So I would say that I enjoyed fighting. Sheamus was my toughest battle. Like, every night I knew I'd been in a fight, and it was 5 nights a week for freaking 4 months, believe me. He probably took 10 years off my life, let alone my career. All right, guys, I think they're giving me the boot.
That was a great session.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Big Show.
Thank you for watching the Convention Junkies coverage of the 2018 Niagara Falls Comic Con. Please like, comment and subscribe to see more, and let us know below what you think of this video. If you would like to help us with future projects, please visit our Patreon page.